What's up, everybody? How are you? Welcome back to another Boundaries to Bliss Lounge live show where we have empowered chats for empowered living for empowered women like you. We took a week off last week, but we are back today. I'm Dr. Nicole, and I'm your host. I'm your guide on tapping into your femininity and having healthy boundaries so that you can live the life that you want and have the relationship that you have dreamed of and desired, right? You can't tell me that most of us do not want to have a healthy relationship. That's the goal, right? So we dig into all that you need to empower yourself and just to feel free and feel good and feel like you are on the right track of the life that you want for yourself. So, welcome back. Good to see you. We are here every Thursday, 8 p.m. on YouTube. Sometimes we also go live on Instagram and Eastern Standard Time. And we just like to chat it up. And of course, every week on Mondays and Tuesdays, you will get the drop of each weekly episode of my podcast, The Secret Formula to Femininity. But right now, we just want to chill. We want to just, kick it, talk about things that I see people asking me on social media, things that people are, the latest debates, which, sometimes I steer clear of that stuff, but sometimes it's like, if this is what people are talking about or debating about, it must be something that they are trying to understand better or get a better sense or handle of. Okay. So, last week I wasn't around. It was for a good reason. I at the last minute my husband was like, "All right, let's go. Let's go out. I want to take you guys out. This is a perfect night. Thursday night is before, right before the weekend. You're kind of in a chill, relaxed mode." So, we had some good seafood and we went to Eddie V's. I don't know, depending on where you are, you might know that it's a cool restaurant. Seafood, steakhouse, seafood house. Just real quality, nice service, nice ambiance. And I love when the kids experience, nice things. And I told my youngest daughter, she's always, when we go somewhere, she wants caviar, she wants filet mignon, she wants they want lobster, they want all the things. So it's good for them to know that they get to have it. They get to have it. All right. So let's talk about today's topic. You probably saw it on there. Can you trust him? I brought up this topic because this is the subject of so many things that I talk to different women about. It boils down to, can you trust him? Right? How can I know if I can trust him? And it's, you'll see people like I see debates online. It's like, should you be going through have each other's passwords to go through each other's phones, but it's not even about that because snooping is as old as, as human relationships. So these days it's going through phones. Before it used to be going through pockets and wallets and laundry and all that stuff, eavesdropping, snooping, that stuff has always been going on. And the image of it is that it's women who are doing it. That's why I titled it, Can You Trust Him? Right? The image of it, let me just get my thing. The image of it is that it's women who are feeling insecure. They are, they don't know if what he's saying is matching what he's doing. They're afraid of being hurt. Like it's just this image of the woman chasing trust, so to speak. And I think that's really interesting because I think trust is a core pillar of any relationship, but particularly, especially a romantic relationship. So both partners tend to want it. Now, the image is that women don't trust their man, they're snooping, they're insecure, he's cheating, right? But we know that that's not the full case. Women, there's infidelity on both the male side and the female side. And there used to be this idea that women don't have the same libido or desire, so they're not as prone to cheat, or that if they do, it's for emotional reasons. Now, in some respects, that there is some validity that a lot of times women might be looking for, they might feel checked out of their relationship, not like lacking emotional connection, and they might get into some infidelity in that way. But there's a lot of people that just do it, right? It's something that some people choose to do, men and women. So the idea of trust goes both ways, even though the image is that it's the woman that's insecure. Now, there are cases where there is a woman that has more of an insecure attachment, and you've heard me talk on some of the podcast episodes about that. Like a woman will have the insecure um attachment where she's afraid of rejection and abandonment and very kind of sensitive to that, like needs a lot of reassurance and feels kind of anxious slash insecure in their attachment. And then sometimes people like that will partner with someone who has what we call an avoidant attachment style. So the image is that the man is the one with the avoidant attachment, that he's not as comfortable with intimacy. He tends to feel smothered and will pull away if he feels like, you're too needy, or you want too much, or you're expecting too much, while deep down inside he also has a fear of abandonment and rejection, but it's just it comes out in a different way. So that does happen a lot, and it's interesting that those two opposites would seek each other out, because while the avoidant is prone to feeling kind of like, oh my God, you're smothering me, give me my space, when you pull away from them, they start to lean in like, well, wait a minute, don't leave, right? I just wanted you to back up a little bit. And it's interesting that the anxious attached person, they would be drawn to somebody that has that pushing away style. So it's kind of like a back and forth. It's a back and forth. This is also something that we call the pursuer distancer dynamic, where one partner is like almost chasing after the other, but not in the way that we think of. Like, we oftentimes say that men are hunters, they want to pursue and kind of, chasing, pursuit, conquest is part of their nature. But with this pursuer distancer dynamic, it's not really about that. It's more about like you're chasing an emotional connection and the other one is running away from it. And sometimes it does fall along gender lines where the woman might be chasing that emotional connection and the man is like what is running, so he's being pursued, right? But it goes much deeper than those images and those stereotypes, because both of these extremes, like anytime you're talking about an attachment style that is not secure, meaning where you're okay being connected, having intimacy, being together, but you're also okay as an individual, being separate, right? You have that balance of togetherness and separateness, being able to merge, but also being able to have your own identity. So that is what we would call a secure attachment. And you know, at the heart of any kind of insecure or avoidant attachment is a lack of trust, right? Usually it's that something happened that rocked this person's sense of trusting those who were supposed to be there, right? And so much of what happens in our childhood affects how we approach relationships, whether we feel like we can trust people, whether we expect to be cared for and valued, whether we expect validation or whether we expect to be downplayed, dismissed, ignored, and neglected. So all of that plays a part. And so my whole point is that trust is at the core of all relationships. And whatever your stance in a relationship, whether you're overly clingy and anxious, whether you're more balanced or secure, whether you're fearful and don't want people to get close to you, so you keep a distance, all of those hinge on trust. Now, the most secure relationships where a person feels secure internally and they're securely attached within their relationship, there's a level of trust that needs to be there where you're not trying to control the other person, right? So both the avoidant and the anxious person, they are trying to exert control. The anxious person wants to know, where are you? What are you doing, right? They fear that they're going to be rejected and abandoned. The avoidant person tries to control their partner by keeping them at arm's length and then kind of wanting them to come forward. So there's this back and forth, but it's about control. And um, that is because they also have trust issues. And so when we think about trust, yes, it's about the other person, but it's also more of an internal experience, right? Are you trusting yourself? As a woman, are you trusting your instincts? Are you trusting your ability to be okay and be resilient if things don't go your way? Or the way that you had wanted? Are you trusting your decision making abilities, right? So a lot of times we as humans we do this thing called projection. The things we fear and that we're not feeling good about, we project onto others. So when we have a lack of trust within ourselves, we're like, well, I can't trust him, right? You start to talk about not trusting the other person, but that's a sign that it's time to pull back, right? So let me get a little bit more practical with this, right? One thing that I see a lot from women is this fear that they're going to be cheated on, that they're going to be humiliated, that they're going to be, made a fool of, scammed, duped somehow, like there's this fear of humiliation and embarrassment, right? So it goes beyond just what goes on in the relationship. It goes to like, okay, is he going to honor my dignity, right? Because I'm telling my girls, my family, I'm putting it out there. Can I trust that he's going to protect my image and so forth, right? So some of that is because we're so focused on what other people think. And I've seen a lot of cases in relationships where the person, it's not so much about if they really trust the partner, but it's like, how is it going to look to other people, right? So that's one thing that you have to think about. Another thing is being okay with, like, I hear a lot of people talking about, can I trust him or whatever? But what are you going to do if you find out information that maybe he's not as trustworthy, right? So we get so caught up on, can I trust him? Is he, what is he going to do? Is he going to cheat? Are people going to find out? What are you going to do if you find out things that don't sit well with you, right? That's the real question. And there's no one. Ooh. There's no one size fits all answer. There is no one size fits all answer. It might hinge on like if this person acknowledges and is communicating and you all come to some kind of understanding. How long is the relationship? What do you have invested in it? What kind of breaches took place? Did you communicate clearly up front that, what your expectations in the relationship were? Oops, the stream. Okay. So it's not just about um, like, can what is he going to do? What are you going to do? Right. And a lot of times, what happens that I see, particularly with women, is they put a lot into unspoken expectations. And so they're saying things that, I mean, they are like they're hanging so much is depending on or focused on what their partner said. What did he say? But then they're ignoring what he does. And one of the best ways that you can determine trust is through actions and through consistency and through follow through and follow up. right? So instead of looking at what did the person say, look at what the person does. Look at how they keep their word through their actions. Look at their level of consistency. It's not just one time. I was listening to somebody talk about I forgot what I was watching, but they were talking about the behavioral research that shows that as humans, we respond like as animals, right? There's a lot of it is on animal studies, but as humans, we respond to inconsistent reinforcement, right? So if somebody gives affection and then pulls it back, but then gives you a little bit more, you tend to kind of keep doing the things to try to get that affection, right? Because you're trying to get that reward and it's unexpected. You don't know when it's going to come, right? So but when someone who's more steady and honest and consistent, sometimes you're not as excited by that because you're like, oh, I know to expect that. But that's exactly what you should be pursuing in terms of a healthy relationship, right? So sometimes we have to know the difference between maybe that excitement or that rush or that reward feeling, that dopamine rush, and what's actually healthy for us. And what's actually healthy for us is, again, that consistency, looking at actions. Sometimes the words can be very excitable. And so you're like, well, I can trust because he said this, or I shouldn't trust because he didn't say that. But none of that is based on actions and behaviors. And none of it, when you're preoccupied with, what the other person is doing, part of that is you don't trust what you're going to do if you find out some information that you don't want to hear or know, right? So a lot of people are out there, snooping, sneaking around looking, but what are you going to do if you find the thing that you think you might find that doesn't feel good to see it, right? That's the real question. So you have to trust in your ability to make a decision that is healthy and right for you in a relationship. Now, for some people, it might be leaving. For some people, it might be, hey, let's communicate. What are we expecting out of each other? For other people, it could be, okay, what are the consequences if you do things to breach my trust? For other people, it could be, let's go to counseling, right? Usually, though, at the core, it has to be you at some point being okay with whatever the outcome is. Because what I see is a lot of times women will get so stuck on a person. Like they have this image in their head, oh, we would look good together. He looks like this or he has that, right? We build this person up to this ideal, this image that we have. And they probably sometimes never even asked to be built up to that. And so it's hard to either walk away, take a step back, do anything um, that is like really take action when you find out information that you did not want to. Specifically saying, if you find out that you look through this person's, personal belongings and you see something from another woman, a text message, a phone call, a note, a receipt, or whatever, what are you then going to do with that information, right? That's where the real issue of trust, because really it's not that harsh of it's not that we make it out to be such a big thing because we're afraid to take the actions that we want to take, right? Your action could be that you want to stay, and that's okay. That's on you, right? I want to stay, I want to work it out. Your action might be, you know what? No, I can't. And that's okay too, right? But it has to be something that you're okay with within yourself. And it also has to be something that you are okay blocking out all of the noise from the peanut gallery. The peanut gallery are those people, again, what we believe our friends are going to say, our family members, the opinions of others, the judgments of others, because they're going to judge either way. Girl, you're staying, right? Or girl, what? Why would you leave? It makes this amount of money, right? So there's all of these opinions that people have. And what I have found is that a lot of that is what contributes to the the issue or the problem with trust in the first place, right? It's all about how you think others are going to judge you for your decision, right? And the main thing that I see missing in sort of all of this worry about trust, concern about trust, is communication. Communication is vitally important. Communication is vitally important. You have to be willing to speak up and say how something made you feel, what you're expecting, even before any issues come up. Because a lot of times we're in relationships where the expectations haven't been made clear. Are you expecting monogamy, but that wasn't something that he signed up for or even said he wanted or agreed to, right? What does monogamy mean to you? Are you expecting no contact with any other, women? Is he expecting from you no contact from any other men, right? Like, what are your guiding values and principles? And that's why I say when you're really getting serious in a relationship, you have to look at values, core values, right? For me, it's like my husband and I have the same core values as far as religiously. What are the expectations within a marriage? Okay. So then if we have an issue, we fall back on that, right? So in any relationship, you want to look at what are the core values that you each have, and hopefully there's some common ground with them. And then you want to be clear about what the expectations are. Are we dating with intention? Are we trying to get married? Are we just like, what is it? What are your core values and what are you wanting and expecting? And I think being more communicating and being more explicit about that will allow you to kind of cut away some of the cloudiness about trust, right? Let me know if do you get it? What do you guys think about this, right? Like, are you um are you seeing how my points that it goes back to you, your internal trust, it goes back to communication, it goes back to core values, it goes back to tuning out the peanut gallery and the judgment. Like, are you trying to please your friends and family? Are you trying to please yourself, your God, and try to, pour into this relationship and know when you want to stay and when you want to go, right? And that doesn't mean you don't talk to anybody. We all need trusted people, right? Well, first of all, I'm all for therapy and coaching. But we also need, a support network of trusted people. But we also have to have discernment, right? It doesn't mean anytime you have a disagreement with your partner, you run and tell everybody all your business, because we all know how that goes. They end up hating, the person you guys make up, and you're like, okay, we're back together. And because of everything that you've said, they don't like him anymore, right? So it's like about being really um, having discernment with who you talk to and about what, but really just getting right within yourself, asking yourself, what is my attachment style? Where's my vulnerabilities? Do I tend to be insecure? Do I tend to run away and push people away? What is that about? What trust issues do I have from my past that I'm projecting onto this person? And then have I communicated what I expect and what I want? And have I asked myself, if my trust were to be breached by this person, what would I do? What am I going to do? Right? So if you take those steps, that kind of cuts to the chase. That cuts away a lot of that stuff that we get so preoccupied with things that we cannot control, right? We get so preoccupied with things that we cannot control, versus what we can control is our reaction, our response, our consequences, our boundaries, our inner work. That's what we can control. So that's my take. Trust has been on the table. It's been something that I've just been talking to so many people about, and you see it everywhere, right? And then people start getting into what is the nature of men? What is the nature of women? Men, do they all want, multiple women? Women, do they have a, polyamorous or whatever, polygamous nature too? Like, it's so many debates out there, um, and you could pick your side, you could pick where you stand on it, but you really got it. The where you need to stand on business is having a better sense of yourself, what you want, what you expect, and more importantly, for my women out there, how you communicate. Do not be afraid to communicate your wants and your needs. Do not be afraid, okay? All right, you guys, I am so happy that you all join every Thursday the Boundaries to Bliss Lounge live chats for empowered living. I still am waiting to hear from a few more people. A few people reached out. They want to get on that hot seat and get coached. And that'll be super, super fun. So, you all let me know in the chat, in the comments, how do you view trust? And what's been your experience with trust in relationships? Okay, so I will see you guys when? Next Thursday. What time? 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. All right, take care, you guys.